Hey, been a bit, but I've been doing a lot of research. In August of 2010, Katy Perry released The One That Got Away, a song that became a huge pop hit, peaking at number 3 on the Billboard Hot 100. It got a music video, remixes, yada yada. You've heard this song. In the first verse of this song, the first line, she says, "Summer after high school, when we first met, we'd make out in your Mustang to Radiohead." Huh? This got me going, all right? I mean, seriously, who makes out to Radiohead? Their music is depressing and sad and weird. I mean, maybe you can make out to some things, okay? Like I was thinking, I was like, what songs could you make out to? And then I realized I would have to know what kind of music people make out to figure that out. But then I kept thinking, and I was like, all right, well, there's some songs that I feel like you could that aren't too sad, they're not too upbeat, and they're like just in the perfect area. I feel like, you know, stuff from the Bends, maybe some things from OK Computer, maybe not like Fit or Happier, but you know, something in there, I'm sure. Maybe you're making out to Creep, even though that might be a little weird to make out to. But there's Blowout. I don't know. There's definitely some songs that can qualify. All right. I mean, there's at least 2 to 3. I mean, all of In Rainbows, so pretty. I could totally make out to that. You could make out to that. We could make out to that. The song came out in 2010, meaning it has to be pre-2010, which narrows it down. But we can narrow it down even more. Katy Perry says the summer after high school. After. So that means we just need to figure out what year Katy Perry graduated. But she didn't graduate. She dropped out at 15. Now, this could be either the year 1999 or 2000 because she's born in a later month in the year. But to give some leeway, I feel like 2000 would be the better way to go because that includes Kid A, which would have been released that year. But literally in the next line, she says, "On my 18th birthday, we got matching tattoos." That got my head turning because if she was 18 when they got matching tattoos, that means they would have been together for multiple years at this point, right? But I don't feel like that's the case. So I think this is a version of the world of Katy Perry's events where she graduated normally at 18, right? And her birthday's in October. So if she did finish high school in the summer, they would have been together in the summer and then got a tattoo in October, right? Okay, stay with me. Please stay with me. And so if she did this, her birthday in October after graduating, that would put us closer to 2002, all right? Around that time period. So Amnesiac could technically be filtered into. Not that much from Amnesiac, I think would be make-outable. I don't see it. But come on, I'm sure there's something there. All of this means that there's 58 songs across 5 albums and B-sides, EPs, singles. I'm not gonna be counting the EPs and singles and B-sides because, let's be real, if it's the early 2000s, they were either listening to a CD or the radio. I doubt something like Banana Co. got any airtime in California. So, you know, we're gonna work with these albums. All right. Starting out with Pablo, Honey, the debut, the OG. I'm gonna be real, I'm not that familiar with this album. I've never really listened to it that much. So I can't say in good faith whether these are the worst or the best songs to choose from. I know it's got Creep, which is their biggest song. So the chances of it being this album are higher because Katy Perry or this mystery man may have the album because of the song. Although, looking at the album, there's not too many songs to me that stand out as like make-outable. I really can't see Creep being a make-out song. It's about being a weirdo and not belonging. I don't think if you're feeling that way, you're probably not making out with somebody. Unless you're both weirdos and you're together. Oh, that's so cute. I will say Blowout. I can totally see that being a make-out song. The rest of the album, maybe you can make a case for them. But if anything, they're just kind of average on the make-out scale. Nothing really getting the people going, you know? Because of other factors, with Creep being their biggest hit, the chance of this album on CD is a lot higher than you know, something else, I guess. But unfortunately, I think we're not looking at this one that much. I feel like it's probably not Pablo Honey. It's probably not the weird little baby in the flower. On the make-out scale, I'm gonna give this a 5 Tom York smooches out of 10. With Blowout as the standout track, we're gonna move on to the bends. I gotta say, out of all the albums that are currently listed, I think this one's the most likely. You know, Planet Telex, The Bends, High and Dry, Fake Plastic Trees, Bones, maybe Nice Dream, for sure Just, and maybe My Iron Lung, maybe not Bulletproof, or Black Star, or Sulk, or Street Spirit, but the first 2/3 of that album, pretty make-outable in my opinion. All those songs are higher energy, but not like too crazy, and they have kind of a lustful vibe, you know, they're, yeah. I mean, with the Bends, you know, he talks about sitting there with his girlfriend, waiting for something to happen. So maybe there's some mooching of the Bends. Ah? Now, this one just outright makes the most sense, but because the album came out in 1995, it makes the album like 6 or 7 years old at the point of when this makeout sesh would have happened. Not that nobody listens to albums after they've been out for a while. I mean, we still listen to it now, but it most likely means it wasn't being played on the radio as much anymore. So they would have to be listening to a CD. You know, I feel like that's where the idea lays heavy at this point, rather than the radio, which in my opinion clocks down the points just a little bit, because that means they have to be pretty big Radiohead fans to go out and get this. I mean, maybe not the biggest, you know, this album has some pretty big singles, High and Dry and Fake Plastic Trees, but this album is really horny. On the makeout scale, I'm gonna give this 9 Phil's bald head out of 10. With the standout track being Fake Plastic Trees, because it's pretty, and if you're not paying attention to the lyrics, you can totally make out to it. Okay, computer! This is by far Radiohead's most recognizable and most critically acclaimed album, so the odds of it being this, I feel like, are a lot higher on that bias alone, but I feel like when it comes to the songs of this album, there's not as much content to make out to compared to the previous. I will say, Airbag, Paranoid Android, Subterranean, pretty make-outable songs, but once you get to Exit Music, I don't think you're smooching anymore, I think you're crying. Now, if you're not paying attention to the lyrics, which I gave, you know, Fake Plastic Trees a pass for, I feel like this album is you know, pretty good at that, but I still feel like Exit Music's a little bit slad and slow, and maybe you wouldn't make out to that even if you weren't listening to the lyrics. I feel like Letdown is both a yay and a nay. Pretty song, lyrical content, a little sad. I feel like Karma Police, for sure you can make out to. It was a big single, got the most plays out of all the songs on the radio and whatnot, so that's a big contender, and it feels pretty, you know, lusty. Fitter Happier, I don't think you're making out to Fitter Happier. I just don't think that's happening. I feel like that would be kind of weird. Electioneering, I guess, upbeat song, could make out to it. Climbing Up the Walls, I think, is too scary. It's my favorite song on that album, but I'm scared of it. No Surprises, I think, falls into the sad camp a little too far. I don't know if it'd be a makeout song. I don't think you're making out the No Surprises. I feel like you might get a little weird about that one. Lucky, The Tourist, I guess they're a little bit slower, but not so much that it would ruin the mood, you know? So I feel like overall, this album kind of lands in the middle. It's very likely because of its popularity, but because of the song content, I feel like it bumps it down a little in the terms of make-out ability. So on the make-out scale, I'm gonna give this 7 Johnny Lemon Shakes out of 10, with the standout track being Karma Police, because it's kind of horny. Now these next two are probably the most likely in the sense that they're the most recent ones potentially. However, neither of these really got too much radio play. I think Optimistic did, and Pyramid Song off of Amnesiac did well on the charts, so probably that as well. With Kid A's track list though, I feel like it's a lot harder to make out to than the previous. Everything in its Right Place, I guess. Kid A, I don't really think so. The National Anthem, yeah. How to Disappear, really sad. Don't see it, but it is very intimate, so maybe in that sense, you know. I guess Tree Fingers, it's ambient, you know. Optimistic, yeah, and Limbo, yeah. Idiotech, yeah, I guess so. Morning Bell, maybe. Motion Picture Soundtrack, I don't think I could do it. That song is too sad. It would cripple a mentally healthy person, so I don't think it would be a good idea to make out to that one. When it comes to this album's recency, in terms of when the song takes place, I feel like this one is probably the most likely. if they're listening to something recent. I mean, I know I included Amnesiac, but the odds of it being Amnesiac, I feel like are lower because I'm kind of stretching to make room for that in the first place anyways. Especially since the line about getting matching tattoos comes after the Radiohead lyric, but overall, I feel like Kid A is an album that's a little weird to make out to, but I don't know the vibe that Katy Perry wants to make out to. I don't doubt her enjoyment of electronic music, you know, so maybe they are making out to this one. On the makeout scale, I'm gonna give Kid A 7 Colin head nods out of 10. That man loves that he's in Radiohead. The standout track, Optimistic. There's no way it's actually this one. I mean, who's making out the Polk poll? Be real with me. The odds of it being this album is really low by default because I'm stretching to put it in anyways, but I also feel like this album is the least likely one to make out to. I mean, looking at the track list, I don't think you're gonna make out to Sardines, maybe Pyramid Song, I don't know. Definitely not Polk Poll. You and Who's Arby, maybe. I don't think Morning Bell, I don't think Dollars and Cents, I don't think Hunting Bears, maybe Hunting Bear, I don't know. And Spinning Plates, I don't really see that one being a makeout song. But overall, this album is a lot more beat boopy than even Kid A in some parts, and there's a couple songs that maybe you would make out to, but for the most part, I really doubt this one. It just doesn't make too much sense in my head. I spent way too long trying to think of ways that this, like, could work, but I'm making too many excuses to get it in here in the first place, so maybe it wasn't worth the thought. On the makeout scale, I'm gonna give this 4 Ed O'Brien background ambient moans out of 10. The standout makeout track, I'm gonna give it to Knives Out, I guess. I don't know. So after looking at these albums as a whole, I think it's time to take those that stand out and try to figure out which song was the best to make out to. I know it's probably just an album in full, but I want to think what's the most make-outable Radiohead song out of these albums, at least, because I seriously think In Rainbows would take the cake. So we got these standout tracks as champions for their albums. We got Blowout for Pablo Honey, Fake Plastic Trees for the Bends, Karma Police for OK Computer, Optimistic for Kid A, and Knives Out for Amnesiac. Now honestly, to best narrow down this list to the final champion, I'm gonna need to get out in the field and figure out for myself which one really takes it home. Sorry. Sorry, that took a little longer than I expected, but I think I can say with certainty I know our champion. In my honest opinion, I believe the most make-outable Radiohead album is... one second, guys, sorry. Leave you hanging there, but... Oh. No. How... I did... That can't... Oh, come on, that can't be... I did all my research. I did all my research for it to be Kid A? Kid A? No. I was gonna say the Bends. The entirety of Kid A. You're making out to fucking Tom York talking about heads on sticks. And 2 of the most depressing Radiohead songs of all time? I've spent months deep diving this. For Katy Perry just to comment on a TikTok. Oh, come on, man. What? You know what? Respect, actually. Great album. Didn't know Katy Perry had such good taste. Well, I guess I can go back to my normal life now. And there's your answer. It's Kid A, I guess. Take this tie off, Jesus.